All right, a quick end of day recap here for the index as well as individual names on watch for tomorrow. Essentially, we came into the session with a very similar approach to yesterday. Wanted to see the reaction in ES versus the prior day low. Looking at the 1 minute chart here, let me flip over to the 2 minute chart. Essentially, here's the open, right? Regular trading hours open right there at 9:30. Main watch posted and discussed in the pre-market prep live stream. We wanted to be seeing the reaction versus the prior day low. Price breaks above the prior day low. Pretty simple right there. You do have some attempted sells versus VWAP. These are going to be shorter time frame traders, but essentially the main level of interest for today's session was that prior day low. Prior day low holds after that VWAP rejection and pretty much just resolves higher up through the 4750, up through the overnight high, up through that prior day volume point of control. Now, for buyers, the main objective for today, once this prior day low holds and once this 4750 is recaptured, is to show acceptance up here, to at the very least show some acceptance above the 4750. And the reason being is because we are in a key area of support. So essentially, bulls wanted to reclaim this 4750 area and again show that acceptance above this this intermediate term support zone. That is not what happened today. We do have that blip above essentially 4750 up into some prior day structure and ultimately resolved lower. Now, like I mentioned yesterday in the end of day recap, as well as this morning, the current location and the current setup is quite tricky. And this is why essentially what we're looking at here in the short term, once again, is a series of lower highs. This is a downtrend. And so buyers today needed to show a change in character here up above that prior day lower high right there into the 47.75 area. That did not happen. And so the challenge now is that we are in a intermediate term area of support, right? This 47.50. Last time we tested this zone, look how aggressive the buying was. Right? Pretty much vertical for the next few trading days. That's not the case over the past 2 days. We have a test yesterday. You have a decent bounce. We have a test today, which actually initially resolved lower. And you have another bounce, but it did not break that prior high. So price, again, resolves lower, showing that sellers kind of have the ball right now, at least in the near term. Now, again, one of the challenges here is the fact this blue zone, if we look at the daily chart, was the prior 52-week high. So there's an area where you can expect some buyers to materialize. We're not quite there yet, but once again, very, very tricky area. We do have on the daily chart a change in character from this higher low. Price is breaking below that higher low, so we do technically have a change in character there, but we are coming into an area of prior resistance, which generally speaking should act as a zone of support. Once again, have not quite tested that area yet. So tomorrow we do have NFP. It is a fairly big data print. I do expect this kind of action right here near the 4750 to be resolved with NFP tomorrow. As far as what I'm going to be looking for heading into the print is essentially, depending on what kind of overnight action we have, I'll be looking at the reaction versus today's low, that 47.37 area, as well as the 47.50 level. Now, these two areas right through here, that would be yesterday's high, Wednesday's high, as well as today's high, will have some significance. Buyers want to show a break of those recent highs. And again, as a reminder, it has to do with the current structure at play. If we go back to the hourly chart, once you have price breaking this 47.67 area, again, you have a change in character. There's no longer a near-term downtrend in play. You now start to show that change in character. The range can continue to do range things, and price can test some of those upper areas of resistance. So far, if you're a buyer, right? If you are a bull in this area, this is not the kind of action you really want to be seeing. So just some things to keep in mind. Definitely we'll be keeping a no bias type of approach into tomorrow, primarily looking at today's low, the 47.50, and then today's high as the main reference point for tomorrow's session. Again, depending on any overnight action, depending on where price is settling post NFP. As far as NQ, again, a little bit of a different setup here. NQ did show a break. It did show that change in character a couple of days ago on the daily chart. And I had mentioned yesterday, as well as reiterated this morning, that the main target for this move was this blue zone, right? If we take a look at the daily here, just being focused on the current structure, the current price structure, and nothing else. Once this series of higher lows shows that change in character and you have the break of that most recent higher low, where's the next obvious area where price is going to test? And again, it's that prior area of resistance, right, where I have that blue zone. So price not quite there yet, right? A little bit of a slower session today. We did not quite show that full ATR move today, which is to be expected ahead of a big data print like NFP. So for tomorrow, very similar approach to ES, just looking at how price trades versus today's range. I do see some selling into the close here with ES making fresh session lows here. So getting that full move into that expected zone. So again, today's low, wherever we end up closing, will have some significance for tomorrow's session, again, depending on that overnight action. The current daily bar, does that tell us that a lot of buyers are here? Not really. Not really. So just some things to keep in mind. We are looking at, 4 consecutive sessions lower, maybe 5 if you want to include this Thursday, but at least 4 consecutive sessions lower. Start to get into 5 to 6 consecutive sessions lower. It is a bit extreme. So just something to keep in mind as well. Now, as far as individual names, the list remains quite dry. Now, we are in the off season, no earnings, no big catalysts. So as you know, I focus on stocks in play, big volume stocks. Just not the case right now. We do have Apple on watch as a potential swing. I want to see how the 200 MA is treating. Interesting note on Apple, check the relative weakness. Big time relative weakness here versus the broader index. And if you remember over the past few months, Apple has really been supporting the broader index. We've really seen Apple and a handful of other stocks really doing the heavy lifting for the broader index. So this is something worth keeping an eye on. Coming into the 200 MA, I'll be watching that for a potential swing. Then we did have Spotify as a potential intraday trade idea for tomorrow. Big volume today, or at least higher than average volume, and breaking out of this pattern. So I want to see if there can be any continuation of this move. Will be focused on the first day, which is today, session volume point of control right there at 193. That's pretty much it. We do have ES pressing, again, fresh session lows here, just puking into the close. We want to see how price reacts versus this blue zone, especially now in the overnight session with NFP. It's going to give us a lot of clues for tomorrow's trading. That's about it for today, guys. Hope everyone had a great day. I will see you tomorrow morning for the pre-market prep live stream. Have a great afternoon.